Today we're going to be talking about how the Appalachian Forest is a far cry of how it used to look. And as much as I love these mountains, as much as I love the hollers and the forests of home right here, the reality is it pales in comparison to how it used to look like 200 years ago. If you were walking through this forest, you would not believe that you were in the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, George Washington was commenting about sycamore trees that were 45 feet in diameter, and there were parakeets flying through the air that were multicolored, beautiful animals, and mountain lions roaming around. I mean, the mountains have changed so much over the last couple of centuries, and what I'd like to do is just put together a quick little video for you, have you look at it, and tell you the way Appalachia used to be. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button. That would mean the world to us, and tell your friends about it. Share this video, and write down in the comments section what you'd like for us to talk about next, and it would be my honor to talk about it. So here's the video. The Appalachian Mountains have long been billed as wild and wonderful to faraway travelers and tourists. And though they are beautiful, the sad reality is that they are but a frail shell of what they had been only a few centuries ago. Not too long ago, the virgin forests of America's eastern mountains would have been almost unrecognizable to its modern-day inhabitants. They were far darker than they are today, and home to an incredible number of species whose days were numbered. The beautiful multicolor Carolina parakeet, the eastern bison, elk, and the praying eastern mountain lion, which was the fourth largest cat on the planet, all called the mountains of southern Appalachia home. When our European ancestors first crested the Blue Ridge, they encountered a dark and dense woodland where trees towered like skyscrapers. One of the earliest men to write about the region's ancient forests was a surveyor by the name of George Washington. On November the 4th, 1770, while plotting the Kanawha River, Washington wrote in his journal, "Just as we came to the hills, we met with a sycamore of a most extraordinary size, it measuring from 3 feet off the ground, 45 feet round, lacking 2 inches, and not 50 yards away was another, 31 feet round." In pre-colonial times, the hundreds of millions of Appalachian acres were almost entirely forested. The trees, centuries-old colossal mammoths, towered proudly over the ancient landscapes. Sycamores, hemlocks, chestnuts, oaks, and dozens of other tree species reigned for thousands of years over the majestic and unconquerable land. Older than the Mayflower, many of Appalachia's white oak and hemlock trees were more than a half a millennia old, an unimaginable spectacle for the European colonists who first laid eyes on the trees. Tales abounded of hollowed forest trees being so large that entire families lived inside them. Unfortunately for the forests, within a few generations, the Western world had been thrust into an era which came to be known as the Industrial Revolution, and soon, man's appetite for tangible goods demanded more raw materials. Seeking to profit from society's thirst for stuff, railroads tore through the once-forgotten mountains, bringing armies of rough, strong, and desperate men into the hills of Appalachia, while shipping the ancient trees of old to distant and faraway lands. Some of the oaks were so large that a single tree could yield up to 10,000 boards. The workers themselves were not villains, but immigrants, laborers, husbands, and fathers of hungry children, unaware of their own strength. By 1920, the entire state of West Virginia had been reduced to an abhorrent desert, more closely resembling a bombed wasteland of Europe following the Great War, more than a mountain wonderland described as being almost heaven. For the first time in its history, West Virginia was seen as an eyesore. One visiting writer described the state as a monotonous panorama of destruction. Farther to the south in North Carolina, loggers deforested the hillside around Pilot Mountain, so much so that a second pinnacle, one that had stood behind the main pinnacle for thousands of years unnoticed, was revealed. Recognizing the dangers wrought by absentee land ownership and the unregulated devouring of the region's forests, state leaders across the South would move in the coming years to reforest the mountains which lay between the ocean and the Mississippi River. By 2000, their efforts had been deemed a success, as the state of West Virginia had reforested itself and boasted of more forest land than it had seen in over a century. Though the era of rampant deforestation is a major blight in the magnificent history of the mountains, the undeniable reality is that the trees of Appalachia served as the building material for America as we know it. It would be impossible to determine the number of churches, home places, barns, courthouse, and even ships were made from Appalachian lumber. One thing we are certain about, however, is that the 46,328-ton HMS Titanic, when it sank to the bottom of the North Atlantic in April 1912, was partially built with lumber that had been hewed down in Nicholas County, West Virginia. This story has been brought to you by Appalachian Magazine. I want to say thank you again for watching our video. If you liked it, go ahead and click the like button. Let us know in the comments section. That would mean the world to us. And also subscribe. Share it with your friends. Tell others about what we're doing. And if you haven't checked us out on Facebook, go ahead and do that. But we're planning on making these videos at least a weekly thing. If not, we're going to do it a whole lot more. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support and looking forward to putting out another video. Take care.